Hey guys, welcome back to Salem the Crafting MMO, and in this video we're going to be talking about the 4 humors and the gluttony system here. And basically, after you've been leveling up based on my previous video where you've been getting skills, you can see here I've been getting lots and lots of skills and leveling up my proficiencies. After you do that, or while you're doing that, you're going to be wanting to improve your humors and basically get stronger in the world so you can do more stuff and not die so easily. So, as a little reminder, if you want to check out Salem the Crafting MMO, do just click the link in the description box down below. That's a referral link that helps support the channel, and if you're going to check out the game, might as well use that link because it encourages me to make more Salem content, and it helps me out, and nothing really changes for you, so might as well, right? Now, let's get into it. So first of all, let's go over our 4 humors up here. We've got blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. And next to that, if you mouse over, you see a bunch of numbers. Basically, that's saying its current level and its maximum level, basically. Basically, that's all you need to know at this point. And these 2 forks over here, if this is popped down from this menu, it means that you're going to be able to go into gluttony mode. If you just click on this, your mouse cursor goes to the fork sort of thing, and it shows gobble points, and it sort of changes these 4 bars setup over there. But before we go into that, let's go over how this is going to work. Basically, to raise these 4 humors, you have to go into gluttony mode and eat certain things that will raise those stats. Now, on any food item, if you mouse over it, it will show how much it heals. For example, this waxing toadstool will heal 5 red, 5 blue, 5 yellow, 5 black. But when gobbled, it will increase, the gobble point is 6 of each, and it's gonna have full and fed up for 6 minutes if we eat one of these things. Okay, so I'm currently at 8 blood, 7 phlegm, 7 yellow bile, and 8 black bile. Now, one of the difficulties of raising these humors is you can't just raise one and raise none of the others. Basically, the more you raise one of them, it sort of refers to the current highest value. So you kind of have to level them up as evenly as possible. Also because it's just better to not neglect one of these humors. So for now, just keep in mind, try to level these evenly because they're all sort of equally important in Salem. Now, when you first want to level these up, you might want to start with things like these mushrooms. Certain mushrooms are pretty good at this. We're looking at different kinds of food, so certain kinds of food. So just for example, looking at a blackberry, when gobbled, it puts no points into red, no points into blue, no points into yellow, but some points, 5 to 6, into black. Now, I'm just referring it to color because it's easier for you guys to understand at this point. So, basically, gobbling blackberries only increases or only has gobble points in 1, which makes it more difficult to level these things evenly, right? So, what we're looking at are certain kinds of foods. So first of all, we have these 3 mushrooms: waxing toadstool, yellow morel, and witch's hat. And these, when gobbled, increase points evenly. At lower levels, waxing toadstool does 6 of each, yellow morel does 8 of each, and witch's hat does 10 of each. So an easy way to do this is, let's say I'm currently at 8 and 7 of these things. So let's go into gluttony mode. And you can see here, a waxing toadstool no longer cuts it for me because this is only increasing about 6 it is increasing 6 for each. So you can see the bar doesn't quite level anything up. So I have to eat 2 waxing toadstools to level any of these up, which I don't have on me. So you can go for 2 waxing toadstools for a while, going ahead and eating both, and then sort of waiting a while for the full and fed up to wear off. But I'm going to demonstrate by eating this yellow morel. This yellow morel improves 7 of each, and as you can, 8 of each, sorry. So you can see 8 points of each color, and currently my highest value is 8. And when all of the bars level up at the same rate, it will improve the weakest one. So let's go ahead and eat this yellow morel in gluttony mode. There we go, and we can see it improved phlegm up to 8. And I'm gonna exit gluttony mode now, which is gonna cause me to not be able to go into gluttony mode for a while, but that's okay. That's basically how gluttony mode works. Now we've got this full and fed up for 9 minutes, which means I can't go back into gluttony mode until the 9 minutes are up. And here's a downside of eating mushrooms. If you look at your humors now, they've all been reduced because there's mushroom poisoning or shroom poisoning. And this is lasting 23 minutes. It depends on how many mushrooms you eat in gluttony mode or not. So eating shrooms like this is generally... mushroom poisoning lowers your humors, but it doesn't affect the max. It does slowly return to what it's supposed to be. But it's still sort of an inconvenience. The only way to stop the shroom poisoning from happening is to boil it in a cauldron, which is not so readily available at lower levels. But we'll stick to that for now. So, besides that, once you start getting... the Witch's Hat is going to be giving 10 to each, which will be quite useful in leveling these up. Basically, you can eat... well, each time you eat one of those mushrooms, that levels up a bar, basically every 9 minutes or so. Depending, let's see, the Witch's Hat, the full and fed up is for 10 minutes, but the Waxing Toadstool is only full and fed up for 6 minutes. So the more powerful it is, the longer you have to wait. But basically, if I had another yellow moral, I could eat one more and it'll improve my yellow bile by 1 point. So you could just stock up on these 3 mushrooms and slowly but surely you'll raise your humors up until you're eating 2 Witch's Hats sort of thing. And that might get you up to somewhere around the 13, 14, 15 range. But then you're gonna have to start doing some recipes. Now, at the low levels, there's 2 specific recipes that I want you to look at. So let's have a look at our skills here. There's a reason why in the last video I asked you to get simple cooking, because it unlocks 2 specific recipes which are quite important and quite useful at this level. So we're looking at, let's go down to craft down here. We can click on food, and first thing I'm going to craft is under berries, and you can see a berry salad. So here's the recipe for a berry salad. 2 cranberries, 2 blackberries, and 1 huckleberry. Now these, the blackberries and cranberries, you can just help yourself to the bushes back in Providence. You know, there's the king's orchards and stuff like that. But the huckleberries, you're gonna have to look for the sort of darkish woodlands area. Basically where you see squirrels, you'll find huckleberries. So you have to sort of, you can look up the Salem wiki page and you can see where huckleberries exist. But basically, don't bother looking in these sort of red forests for huckleberries, they're not there. But they're still considered relatively sort of uncommon, so you might have a bit of difficulty finding one of these. But I have 2 blackberries, 2 cranberries, and a huckleberry, so let's go ahead and craft this. There we go. And we have a berry salad, and as you can see here, when gobbled, this will give 14 to 15 of each humor. So basically you could keep eating these berry salads up until you get to 14 or 15. But there's another recipe which is going to be quite useful as well. Let's go to craft, food, and the last one here, vegetables, and we have a wild salad. So a wild salad has some different ingredients: milkweed roots, which are quite common, oakworth, which is slightly more uncommon, and lily pad bulbs you can find in shallow waters pretty much anywhere. And I happen to have those 3 things on hand, so let's go ahead and craft that. And that will give me a wild salad, which again is slightly weaker than berry salad, but it's again even in leveling everything up. This one is 12 to 14 in each color. Alright, and just as a demonstration for mixing up some food for some gluttony, you can see here in my inventory I've now collected some berries, some nuts, and some mushrooms. So because they're different types of foods, then it's going to be able to increase this more, because the full and fed up debuff isn't going to affect these types of foods. But of course the blackberries I'm having here, it's only going to boost the black bile, and these straight chestnuts are only going to boost my blood. So the mushrooms can be sort of used to even out the lowest points. And I have a witch's hat here, but I think I can eat a few of these waxing toadstools to sort of reach my goals. So let's go ahead and go into gluttony mode here. And I'm going to start with the blackberries. And as you can see here, I got to eat 1, but then the second one, it has a 50% debuff, but looks like 2 blackberries should be able to get me 1 up there. There we go. My black bile is now at 9. So now let's go ahead and go and raise my blood here by eating these straight chestnuts. So I'm going to eat 1 of these, and a second one should do it. There we go. And now we can go ahead and eat these mushrooms. You can see the mushrooms increase everything equally, but it should boost the lowest one first. So right now I've got 9 blood, 8 phlegm, 7 yellow bile, and 9 black bile. So the yellow bile should go up when I eat these mushrooms. Gonna eat one, gonna eat a second one. There we go, and the yellow bile is now at 8. Now, you can see at this point, eating any of this stuff is gonna be pretty much useless. I could eat my wild salad and berry salad, but you see even the berry salad, because I've got this 50% debuff on berries at this point, it's not gonna help. Salad, however, is currently not debuffed, so I could eat this and increase 1 more point, but it's kind of a waste at this stage because this boosts 12 to 14, so I'm gonna save that for a bit later. Alright, so gonna exit my gluttony mode here, and there we go. And because I ate a bunch of mushrooms, I have this shroom poisoning for 28 minutes, so that's not so good. But when the shroom poisoning wears off, I'll be back up to 8s and 9s for all my humors. And then I'd like to show you some of the easiest recipes, which from a long time ago in Salem, these 2 recipes didn't used to be so good, but now they absolutely are. As you can see here, I've got a couple berries on a straw and shrooms on a stick. And if you have a look at berries on a straw, when gobbled, it gives 10 to 11 points for each. That's actually pretty much as good as a witch's hat. And if you have a look at the recipe, you go to craft, food, berries, and berries on a straw. All it takes are any 2 berries and 1 piece of autumn grass, and I'm going to show you where you can pretty much farm that forever. But besides that, we've also got shrooms on a stick, and this is even better. It gives 12 to 15 for each of your humors when gobbled. So if you mix the berries on a straw and shrooms on a stick, that's actually going to get you quite far as well. Shrooms on a stick, a little harder to do because mushrooms are a little harder to find, and it only gives you 2 uses. But before I show you where you can farm these things, I've set up a fire here. So as you can see, this fire is going, and it's pretty easy to set up. You just sort of build a fireplace or even a pile of wood and set it on fire with, if you go to craft, and I think it's under tools and miscellaneous tools, you'll find a tinder drill that just takes 2 branches and 3 of any tinder. The tinder can be leaves or grass or anything like that. Very easy to get. So once you got a fire going, then basically you can cook certain foods. So I killed a couple crickets here, and once I right click on the fireplace, I'm basically using it once this menu is up. I can craft, go to food, and under slugs, bugs, and critters, I can cook a crispy cricket, which is basically, it's just a dead warbite cricket, and when you're using a fire, you can cook it. And some other easier things, these stray chestnuts and hickory nuts, which you can find all over the forest, you can just cook them and you get 2 uses, and they are actually better. So for example, a stray chestnut, when gobbled, used to be 5 to 7, then it gives you 2 uses and it's 8 to 10. Same with the hickory nut, it gives 5 to 7 for black bile, and it gives, then after you cook it, you get 2 uses and it's 8 to 10. So cooking your food with no extra ingredients is actually really a good way to sort of boost the potential of these foods. But now, let me show you something. If I'm going to go to Adventure, Travel, and I'm going to go to Providence, and let me go over to the King's berry fields. Oh dear, there's a lot of plague alts in town today. And as you can see here, let me just zoom out here. This is something that you have to be careful of. These people here, all of these things here, these are all plague alts. They're all sort of diseased characters that people just leave around in town. Anyway, you just don't get near them. But over on this side of the town, you'll find there's these things over here. So you can see these berry farms. You can pretty much just take all the berries you like here, and we got 2 types of berries. We got cranberries and blackberries, and you can see all this autumn grass just sort of lying around. You can help yourself to all of these things, and so you can see that just pick the grass, pick the berries, and you can make these berries on a straw. And gluttony mode is now just about available again, so let's have a look. So berries on a straw, I'm gonna mix berries on a straw and shrooms on a stick. There we go. And oh, it doesn't actually give you multiple uses. You can only eat it once, but those are still pretty easy to craft. And meanwhile, besides going for those sorts of foods which increases everything, like mushrooms and berries on a straw, specializing isn't all that bad. So for example, here I've got crispy cricket, roasted chestnut, and stray chestnuts. Here I got a roasted squirrel cut because I grabbed the squirrel, and some hickory nuts. So the squirrel and let's see, the crispy cricket and the stray chestnut only increase blood, and increasing blood is not that bad of a thing, really. So let's go ahead and increase that. I'm going to eat the crispy cricket and the roasted chestnut, and didn't quite make it. Luckily I have another stray chestnut on me. There we go. So, specializing in increasing your humors isn't such a bad thing, but be careful not to increase one too much higher than the other, because basically to raise any of these humors, the target is your highest bile. So if you have 25 blood but only 10 black bile, to increase your black bile, you still got to increase it in gluttony mode to 25. So increasing these evenly is really, really important. So that basically wraps up the gluttony humors video and guide, and just sort of a guide for this phase of the game of what you should be looking for and what you should be doing. These recipes are very useful. And as you can see in the last video, we did talk about, I did mention, get all the skills which require less than 1,000 points. And as you can see, I got pretty much everything below 1,000 points, even things like coaling, which I'm not using at this point. What else? I got folk medicine, which is not that important at this moment. I have patchwork and rags. I haven't made any clothes, but just sort of unlocking all these things. Even yellow belly takes 1 point in cloak and dagger. Just get it if you can. Getting all these things will sort of unlock more crafts and builds, and also you can see here I've raised these proficiencies. By raising the proficiencies, they actually give certain bonuses, but you can see increasing these proficiencies is sort of like increasing your stats in an RPG game. It does improve your overall basically rewards and stats that you get from things in the game. So that basically covers everything you need to know about gluttony and humors and recipes at the early stages of the game. The mushrooms really do help. You can find them pretty much everywhere. The huckleberry is a little harder to find. But that's it for now. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.